When we hear the text that says, is it not written in your law that ye are gods? See, for some reason that has put us in a state of mind where now we are above those, we are above some of the people that roam on this planet, right? But if we are people of understanding, that right there should simply tell us that we're not from this planet. In other words, we shouldn't move, we shouldn't respond, we shouldn't react to the things on this planet because we are gods, because we are from the all, because we are a part of reality.
Is it not written in your law that ye are gods? You understand what I'm saying? So it just depends on what level you own based on, whether you're human or whether you're immortal.
At ease, it's your boy Soul Immortal. I used to take my son to this trampoline park, right? Where you're jumping around on trampolines, whether you're jumping into plastic balls, whether you're jumping and dunking the basketball, climbing the ropes, playing dodgeball. Y'all know what I'm talking about. They go by 1,000,001 different names, but the trampoline park, right? The jump park or whatever, right? And he was about 5, 6, 7 years old. And I would take him there, brother. We would be there for hours, right? To the point where the place was closing. And the place was getting ready to close. And I'd be like, all right, son, like it's time to go. And he would go into this state, man, where he was just like in an ultimate low vibration. Like he was just super sad. And he would get quiet the whole ride home. He's just quiet. And I'm thinking to myself, man, like in the grand scheme of things, God willing, you live to see 100 years old. Like, and you telling me that you want to be sad over, the small number of hours of life that you're spending at Jump World? And in my mind, I was like, brother, he's just, 7 years old. Like he simply lacks understanding, right? But when I look at mankind, when I look at how us as brothers and sisters are moving, it's the same thing, man. It's the same thing. It's like we simply have a love for this world as opposed to what's real, right? I'm gonna read the text. And I believe it's coming from John, man. It says, do not love the world. And it says this, 1 John 2:15, right? It says, do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in him. For love that is in the world, the lust, the flesh, and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. Now, you can simply replace that word Father with God, Allah. You can replace it with everything. But what I like to replace it with is the word reality, right? To love this world is simply to not love reality or what's real. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to understand, you got to go back to what I said a few videos ago. Back even when we were talking about, back in the beginning when the world was void, when there was nothing but void. You have to understand that the only thing that existed was God, was reality. You know what I'm saying? That was the only point in history that reality was the only thing that existed, right? So going back to the love of the world, we can easily go to our material possessions, right? You know what I'm saying? We can easily talk about falling in love with our homes and cars and spouses and vacations and boats and jewelry and belts and all this stuff. We can easily talk about falling in love with that. But a lot of people can have that conversation and still not understand what we're talking about, right? But because you can easily say, oh, well, I can disconnect from that stuff and still be good. It's not really talking about the disconnection from it. It's talking about the emotional involvement in it and you calling it real. You know what I'm saying? When a person is desiring a certain thing, when a person is saying, you know what, I'm in this world, I'm in this jump world, right? I want to have a certain experience. Like, let me create this for myself. Let me see this part of this illusion, of this part of the globe. Let me go to this country and experience it. That's what we're here to do, man, to create. We're made in the image of our Creator. That's what we're here to do, is create. But once we get in the mindset of saying, you know what, now I'm unhappy because I don't have the house or the car or the whatever that Joe Blow has. Now what we're doing is we're calling that thing real. So that's where the separation is. Like going back what I said earlier, there's only one thing that's real, and that is the creator. Because when you define what reality is, it's talking about something that's immutable, something that's unageable, something that's a constant frequency and never changes. And there is not one single thing on this planet that fits that description. There's not one single thing on this planet that fits that description, right? Even ourselves, even our bodies. So once we respond to these things as if they are real, then we're literally separating ourselves from the truth. In other words, once we give these things all of our attention, once they start pulling us away from our truth, once they start pulling us away from our real selves, now we're beginning to love this world more than we're loving God or the all or reality, right? So it's easy to look at those things and get a better understanding. But let's look at the opposite end of the spectrum. Let's look at negative things. Let's look at how most people react to things they see on the news or things they see in the hood or things they see on the gram or the book. You know what I'm saying? Let's think about when we see brothers get shot in the streets. Let's think when we see certain hate crimes, right? How do we respond to that? Are we getting in groups and going out marching? Are we picketing, man? Or are we raising 35 types of hell? Because think about what we're doing. Think about what we're doing when we move like that. What we're simply saying is that's reality. Like if I'm going to give that thing an energy, I'm simply calling that thing real when really it's just an illusion. You know, like the Kabbalion put it, everything that we see as matter, including ourselves, is simply an interruption in God energy. And it says these interruptions are formed by the energy that surrounds them. These interruptions are formed by our thoughts. So think about what we're doing when we respond to racism, when we respond to things that vibrate on that level. Brother, we're simply creating that by responding to it in that way. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to really lack understanding. You have to really lack understanding if you think that the crime that exists today that hates any particular race, you have to be crazy if you don't understand that that's only created by the race that's being offended themselves. You have to lack understanding. Think about it. Think about it again. Think about what matter is. Think about what this experience is. It's only an interruption in reality. It's only an interruption in God matter. And that interruption is created by us. So yeah, when you see hate crimes and you respond to it in that way, brother, you're simply showing a love for the world. I'm gonna say it again. And I'm gonna say it slow. When you see a brother get shot on TV, when you see a people or a person get done wrong in any shape, form, or fashion, whether it's on the ground, whether it's on the book, and you respond to it in some form of retaliation, brother, you're simply calling it real. Think about your child playing PlayStation. My son is on that PlayStation, man, a lot, bro. So now picture this. Picture your son or daughter on that PlayStation. They playing 2K and they get beat. Next thing you know, man, they take a whole hammer to the screen, just wha-pow, beating it. You gonna say, dang, son. Dang, daughter, like what are you doing? You're responding to this thing as if it's real. Like it's only a video game and you acting like it's a real deal. That's what we're doing. So that's why you never hear me talk about, you rarely hear me talk about certain issues from an angle of let's get even or let's respond this way. Because the only way to change it, whether it's something, if it's something we like or dislike, the only way to change it is to go inside, is to go into mind. Because to respond to it in this third dimension is calling it something that is not. And that's reality. I'm telling you, a lot of us have a false sense of reality, man. You know, and I'm telling you, and we were just talking about this on the Power Circle last night. You know, when you go to your job and you're hearing about layoffs and you're hearing about the boss this, and some people might get cut, and you feel any kind of way, it throws you out of your element. You're one who is in love with the world as opposed to reality or the Father or God, whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? You go to the doctor, and I said this, the doctor tells you some bad news and you feel some kind of way and you let it take you out of your God element. You're now one that loves the world as opposed to what reality is, man. I'm telling you, brothers. I'm telling you, man. And it's not the easiest thing to do because we're conditioned by this world. We're conditioned by this television. We're conditioned by all these things. But you have to look and say, well, what's the point of all this stuff? Like when the television shows you a certain thing on TV, you have to say, what is it they're trying to get me to do? What are they really trying to get inside of me? What are they actually trying to program, inside of me, right? When they're sitting there putting these, if you suffer from this, they're trying to say, you know what? This is what's real. This thing that's hindering the whole planet, like this is real. Like buy this. When they show you some wrong act and somebody loses a life on television, they're saying, hey, look at this. This is what's real. Like fear this. Be cautious of this because this is what's real. It's like, no, brother, that's only a low vibrating interruption in God energy. It's only a low vibrating interruption in the all. In reality, man. So I'm gonna say, brothers, to love this world, like it finally makes sense to me. I'm not gonna lie, for years that never made sense to me because in my mind I was saying, I can love my creator, man. Like, what do you mean I can't love my creator and love the ride I'm pushing? Like I can, but you have to understand, brother, we have to simply look at this world as an experience. We have to simply look at this world as Jump World or Trampoline Park. Like it's only an experience in the grand scheme of things. Just like my son was getting sad about spending a few hours of his life at Jump World, in the grand scheme of hopefully he lives to see 100 years old in his life. Think about how we're responding to the things of this world that we have or responding to the problems of this world in the grand scheme of eternity. Think about it. We come from a source that has always existed and can never stop existing. But we want to get emotionally involved and sad and angry about the things that happen in this short span of Jump World of our lives. But I'm telling you, it's a thin line between falling in love, man. You have to attach yourself from all this stuff. You have to detach yourself from all of it. And then when you detach yourself from it, brother, I'm telling you, man, it all makes sense. Overcoming things all makes sense. Jumping hurdles in life, it all makes sense and it becomes easy. Because that separation puts you back in a place of knowing who you are and knowing that you are a part of that reality. You know what I'm saying? Because all this world is trying to do is suck you in. It's trying to suck you in and say, you know what, now look at this. This is real. I'm telling you, it's not real, brothers. And I'm talking about everything. I'm even talking about death. It's an illusion, brothers. It's not real. Think about this. If you are made in the image of the Creator, if we come from the Creator, and to be honest, when we say we come from the Creator, that's not even a truth. Because like we talked about in the Power Circle last night, if y'all brothers aren't in that, telling me you missed in a room full of brothers sharing knowledge. But even when you talk about us coming from the all, we can't come from the all because the all doesn't have the ability to break itself off. It doesn't have the ability to add to itself, subtract from itself, multiply or divide from itself. Because if it did, then it would no longer be the all. So in other words, that puts us in an understanding that we're not from the all, like we're just a portion of it. And once you understand that, brother, I'm telling you, it opens up a whole nother level of understanding. So even death, You have to say that even if we're a part of this all, then even death can't be real. I can tell you, brother, I was at my uncle's funeral, man. My uncle, I lost an uncle. What's this? Probably been right at a year now, give or take. And I can remember being at my uncle's funeral, brother. And it was sad, you know. It was sad. All funerals are sad occasions. But when you really think about it, when we're sad, it should only be us being sad because it's like, you know what, man, like I'll no longer see Unc again. Like he's gone from this existence. But to be honest, if we're honest with ourselves, a part of us should be somewhat lit. Should be somewhat lit at funerals, man. I can remember being at my uncle's funeral, man, and people were crying. And of course, like a normal funeral. But that came a point in the funeral, brother. I'm up there, I'm looking at the casket up there, bro. And I'm just like, I just started thinking about my uncle, man. My uncle was crazy. Uncle Wayne, man. All my uncles are crazy, though. I'm talking about like stand-up comedian crazy. And brother, and in the midst of being in a room of nothing but tears and crying, I'm gonna tell you, there was a part of me that was just reliving all these good moments, right? And then there was a part of me that was almost, but I was lit that my uncle was gone, because I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking, dang, like Unc came to this world and whooped its ass and graduated. In other words, he came and had a solid career, had a beautiful wife, beautiful family. His kids are beautiful and healthy and winning in life. I'm like, damn, he came here, whooped ass and dipped. Like who am I to be sad? Like I am a man. I would be a man of that doesn't understand this life to be sad. Like surely we don't think we can live forever. You know what I'm saying? So really to be sad at funerals is almost contradicting us saying that we know who we are. You telling me that we're sad that a person is going back to fully be, you know, in the all? You know what I'm saying, brothers? I'm telling you, man, even death should be celebrated to the man with understanding. So in a nutshell, all I'm saying is this, brothers. You know, when we hear the text that says, you know, is it not written in your law that ye are gods? See, for some reason, that has put us in a state of mind where now we are above those, you know, we are above some of the people that roam on this planet, right? But if we are people of understanding, that right there should simply tell us that we're not from this planet. In other words, we shouldn't move, we shouldn't respond, we shouldn't react to the things on this planet because we are gods, because we are from the all, because we are a part of reality.